about reverse recirculation, which I have on my system. A lot of people have regular recirculation, in which they're pulling wort off the bottom of their mash tun and running it back in through the top. And the biggest problem is, of course, having a stuck mash. So to avoid that, I pull wort off the top of the mash, pump it back in through the bottom, and also takes advantage of natural thermodynamics that heat wants to rise. So a friend of mine asked me to show it, so made this little video. So I'm going to uncover. This is just after the first rest that I like to do at about 110 degrees for gum rest, really, not so much an acid rest, but helps reduce the gums in the beer. And you notice that at the end of the mash you see like a fine grayish substance on top of the mash. You know you got the gums out. Alright, so the first thing I like to do, I got this little pizza screen. One of the disadvantages, the mash likes to float. And that can be a little bit of a problem when you stuff like 40 pounds into one of these things, where I'm about that far from the bottom, from the top of the keg. So this little pizza screen helps to keep all that mash down. So, of course, you're not going to get it in there when it's whole, so you cut it, put a little piano hinge, and a few pieces of aluminum to twist to be able to hold it in place, like that, so it won't bend on me. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Take my rake out. So I'm going to go and try and sneak that in without disrupting the mash too much. And I have my first infusion water to help bring this up to its next temperature, which is going to be saccharification temperature. I'm using a well-modified malt, so I don't need a protein rest. So, okay, I got that guy in there. And I turn my little aluminum guys to help hold it down. Okay, and it's a lot easier to do that now before I go put my heated strike water in there. Alright, so that's all the way in there. Now the other part of this, of course, I'm going to hook this guy up and pump that water in. The other part of this guy, this whole system, is a little sparge manifold that I made out of some copper tubing. That's going to fit right on top of here. You can see it's just a simple H pattern copper tubing, alright, with slots cut in it. And because it's going to suck from the top of the grain bed, the screening is there to help keep any larger bits of grain from getting in there. The copper wiring helps it. I'm able to just bend that and have it sit right on top. The biggest drawback of this, like I said, the mash wants to rise, so you find yourself kind of pushing it down. You really don't need to stir it, because it's going to be, the liquid's going to be going all through the mash. But the other problem is, of course, these March pumps aren't self-priming. So you have to make sure that you keep your prime. Try to get that prime once you lose it is a pain in the butt. Alright, but you'll never have a stuck mash like this. And even if you're using a high percentage of wheat or oats like I'm doing in the stout, I got about 5%, not 5%, 5 pounds out of 40, so that's 12.5% flaked barley and oats. Even when at the very end, after I mash out and I recirculate normally, no problem at all. It just recirculates with no problem. So if you're using a lot of wheat or oats or something like that, it's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and pump my water in and get that going. And then I'll be able to go ahead and start recirculating this a little bit. And basically all I'm going to do, once I get my strike water in there to start to reverse recirculate, I'm going to take this end, plug it into the top of here, being careful not to lose the prime that I have, and then just start recirculating in what's considered a reverse fashion. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And any questions, ask, and I'll try try and answer whatever you got. Thank you. Happy brewing.